we are going to start with the invasion of Arab and Turks. Remember one thing, when these Arab and Turks will come to India, they have simply invaded our country because of one factor. Because during the invasion of Arabs and Turks in this country, in our country, we had a political vacuum. Yesterday we came to know that just after the death of the Ashoka, when he embraced Buddhism, when he started following Buddhism, he gave up the method of war and he started to follow the peace theories. And after the death of the Ashok, all the later Mauryan kings, they were not as, we can say, sufficient, or they were not as, you can say, effective as the early Mauryans were. So because of that, we studied yesterday that we had the 4 foreign invasions in between by the Indo-Greek, Sak, Parthians and Kushan as well. So try to understand. Now I will teach you the Gupta dynasty as well. Before that, I want to make you clear about the Arab and the Turks invasion. Remember this thing, from the invasion of the Arabs and the invasion of the Turks started the advent of Muslim rulers in India. This was the beginning of the, you can say, Muslim attacks on India. So the question in your exam comes, when was the first Muslim invasion took place in India? You simply have to remember one date, that was 712 AD. This was the first important year in which the Muslim invasion started in this country, and it was Muhammad bin Qasim, the first, you can say, the Muslim ruler who came to India and invaded it. It was Muhammad bin Qasim. Now let's start the today's lecture. You see, Al-Hajaji was the governor of Iraq, and he sent Muhammad bin Qasim to India in the year 712 AD. Remember one thing, the relation of Muhammad bin Qasim with the Al-Hajaji was that Muhammad bin Qasim was the son-in-law of Al-Hajaji, who was the then governor of Iraq, who sent Muhammad bin Qasim in the year 712 AD to invade the country. He conquered Sindh with the permission of Caliph Walid. He conquered the Sindh with the permission of the Caliph Walid in the Battle of Rewar. This Battle of Rewar was fought between Muhammad bin Qasim and Dahir, the ruler of the Sindh. So the next question will come to your examination, who was the king of this, or who was the ruler of the Sindh province or the Sindh area when Muhammad bin Qasim attacked India, who was sent by Al-Hajaji, who was his father-in-law. So you will simply remember one thing, the son-in-law of Al-Hajaji, who was the governor of Iraq, sent Muhammad bin Qasim to conquer the Sindh area, and it was with the permission of the Caliph Walid in the Battle of Rewar, which was fought between Muhammad bin Qasim and the Dahir. And Dahir was the king of the Sindh province, or with the Sindh region, when Muhammad bin Qasim attacked the country. Dahir was defeated in the Battle of Rewar. Sindh and Multan was captured. So we can simply say that Muhammad bin Qasim, who invaded India and was the first Muslim ruler to invade India in 712 AD on the permission of Al-Hajaji, who was the governor of Iraq, he was successful in defeating the ruler of the Sindh, Dahir. And after defeating Dahir in the Battle of Rewar, he captured Sindh as well as the Multan. Remember one thing, Muhammad bin Qasim called Multan as the city of gold. So they can ask you, what was the sobriquet or what was the nickname given to the city of Multan? You will say the city of gold. And remember, at present Multan is in Pakistan, and it is known in the entire world for the production of its precious potteries. जो clay pots होते हैं उनके manufacturing के लिए बहुत important city है ये Multan. So remember, Sindh and second was the Multan was captured by Muhammad bin Qasim by defeating Dahir in the Battle of Rewar, and Sindh and Multan both were captured, and Multan was called as the city of the gold. Next important thing is that Sindh and Multan, for the purpose of administration, were divided into number of iqtas. When it comes to iqta system or iqta, you will say the districts. Districts in the time of Muslim rule were called as the iqtas, and it was done by Muhammad bin Qasim, and Arab military officers headed the iqtas. The subdivisions of the districts were administered by the local Hindu officers, because Hindu were already present in this part of the country. So in order to have the better administration, when Muhammad bin Qasim started to rule the Sindh and Multan region, he divided the entire, you can say, city of Sindh and Multan into the iqtas or the districts, and below the district there were subdivisions of the districts which were administered by the local Hindu officers. When Muhammad bin Qasim attacked India, he was having 25,000 troops with 6,000 camels, 6,000 Syrian horses, 300 Bactrian camels, and an artillery force with 2,000 men, advanced guards, and 5 catapults. So this was the composition of the Muhammad bin Qasim's army. There were 25,000 troops, try to remember it, 25,000 troops were there, 6,000 camels were there, 6,000 horses were there, 3,000 Bactrian camel, and where was Bactria? I told you it was in the central part of the Asia. It was nearby Mongol. There were 3,000 Bactrian camels and an artillery force with 2,000 men with the advanced guards. And this had, with the combination of all these army forces, 25,000 troops, 6,000 camels, 6,000 horses, 3,000 Bactrian camels. He invaded the Dahir, who was then the ruler of the Sindh province, and defeated him in the battle of Rewar. Now you see, Caliph Walid was succeeded by Caliph Suleiman. It is the story in Iraq. I told you Al-Hajaji was the governor of Iraq, and with the permission of Caliph Walid, he sent Muhammad bin Qasim to invade India. But when Caliph Walid was succeeded by another Caliph, Suleiman, the Suleiman was the enemy of Al-Hajaji, who was the governor of Iraq. Muhammad bin Qasim was the son-in-law of Al-Hajaji, so he dismissed him and sent him to Mesopotamia, which is present days Iraq, as a prisoner, where he was tortured to death. You see, it was you can simply understand one thing, Al-Hajaji, who ordered Muhammad bin Qasim to attack India with the permission of the Caliph Walid. So Walid was succeeded. It means the administration at the Iraq changed, and since the administration got changed from Walid to Suleiman and Al-Hajaji has the enmity. इनके बीच में क्या थी? दुश्मनी थी. And because of this enmity, Caliph Suleiman dismissed Muhammad bin Qasim from Sindh and Multan and made him as a prisoner and sent him to Mesopotamia, where he was tortured to death. So remember one thing, after the death of Muhammad bin Qasim, for more than 150 years, Sindh and Multan continued to remain as the part of the Caliph's empire. So we can say Suleiman controlled the administration of Sindh and Multan after the death of Muhammad bin Qasim for more than 150 years. You see, Saya Ghosh, the Mughals will come very late, because you see, now we will enter into the Delhi Sultanate period, where we will study about the slave dynasty, Khalji dynasty, Sayyid dynasty, Tughlaq dynasty, and after Tughlaqs, then there will be the Lodhis, and after Lodhis will come the Mughals. So a lot of time is left over for Mughals to come. So, and it happens all the time, when we succeed some empire, when we succeed some governance, then we try to adopt some of their administrative policies if in the past they have been successful. So if something is going right, something is going correctly, so we can do one thing. Because of that particular thing, we can continue with the same administrative system. So because of which, what happened, for the next 150 years, Sultan and Multan, Sindh and Multan remained to be ruled for 150 years by the Caliph's empire. Mr. Sudhir Sakas, I have told you several times, when I am into my full flow, please don't put the message. I have told at the start of the class today only, I will teach Guptas. Why are you worried? None of your topic will be left over. Please let me continue with my lecture. Please don't put any other things. You see, you have just broken my flow. मैं कुछ पढ़ा रहा था, आपने मेरे पूरे फ्लो को खराब कर दिया. मैंने कल भी बोला था कि यार प्लीज कम से कम जब लेक्चर लेता रहूं तो आप कंसंट्रेट करो लेक्चर पे. आप मुझे डिस्टर्ब मत करो. अगर मैं डिस्टर्ब हो गया, फ्लो टूट गया, तो मैं कनेक्टिविटी नहीं समझा पाऊंगा आपको. So all of you, it's a request to you, unless until I don't ask you to put you the doubts, please don't put the doubt. And please don't go for any query. Now come to the next one. So we have just studied in the Arab invasions in 712 AD, Al-Hajaji sent his son-in-law with the permission of Caliph Walid to invade Sindh, and Sindh was under the rule of which one? Dahir. Dahir was defeated in the battle of which one? Rewar, and Sindh and Multan fall under the administration of Muhammad bin Qasim. But we studied later on that Walid was succeeded by Caliph Suleiman, and Suleiman has the enmity with which one? Al-Hajaji. So what he did, he dismissed Muhammad bin Qasim from the Sindh and Multan and captured him and sent him to Mesopotamia as a prisoner. And because of that particular thing, what happened? Sindh and Multan for the next 150 years remained or continued to be ruled under the which one? Caliph Suleiman administration. After the Arab invasion, we had the invasion of the Turks. Guys, any problem till now? आपको सब चीजें मेमोराइज हो गई? I have just told you, Gokulan, Al-Hajaji was the governor of Iraq. He was the governor of Iraq when Walid was the ruler. And when Walid was dismissed by Caliph Suleiman, so Suleiman, when came to the throne of Iraq, he dismissed Al-Hajaji, and he also dismissed which one? Muhammad bin Qasim from the administration of Sindh and Multan, and Muhammad bin Qasim was captured, sentenced to jail in Mesopotamia, and he was tortured to death. उसको बहुत प्रताड़ना के साथ मार दिया गया था. I am pronouncing each and everything in English only, Ram Krishna ji. Have I word the use Hindi? I am using bit of Hindi just only to make you people understand more precisely. Okay, now please come to the next important thing. In the 8th and 9th centuries, try to remember this. Who was tortured to death? Yes, one, I told you. It was Muhammad bin Qasim. All of you, please listen to me very precisely. It was Muhammad bin Qasim, who was the son-in-law of Al-Hajaji, who was the governor of Iraq when Walid was succeeded by Suleiman, Caliph Suleiman. So Suleiman dismissed Muhammad bin Qasim, sentenced him to death and tortured him to death. It was Muhammad bin Qasim who was tortured to death. Okay, now we are studying about the Turkish invasion. This Turkish people have influenced the Indian art and culture very much. Whatever art and culture that developed during the Mughal period, it was highly inspired from the Iranian as well as the Turkish. In the 8th and 9th centuries, the Turks dominated the caliphs of Baghdad. Baghdad is in the part of Iraq, so you can simply understand a new politics is being developed here. In the Iraq region, that is in the Baghdad part, which was the capital of Iraq, this is presently also the capital of Iraq, this Turk started dominating their administration. They extended their dominion beyond Sindh and Multan into India and finished the work begun by the Arabs. It means the invasion of India, which was started by capturing Sindh and Multan, beyond Sindh and Multan, other regions of the India began to be captured by the which one? Turks invaders. So we can simply understand one thing. The Arab had the influence, or the Arab invaders or the Arab attackers have the influence only over two regions, that is Sindh and Multan. And beyond Sindh and Multan, the invasion of India was further carried by the which one? Turkish invader. And this is why, because on the Iraq administration, you can simply understand, because in the Iraq administration, the Arabs began to be dominated by the Turkish people, and because of this Turks, they started their, you can say, expansion in India beyond Sindh and Multan. So we can simply say that Sindh and Multan were invaded by the Arab invaders, and beyond Sindh and Multan, other regions of the country began to be invaded by the Turkish invaders. And why it happened? Because at the Baghdad, the Arabs came to be dominated, or we can say the Arab rulers were replaced by the Turkish ruler. Any doubt? So Arabs were replaced by the Turkish emperors or the Turkish king or the Turkish caliphs, and caliph is called the head of the Islamic state. Wherever at that point of time we had the Muslim rule, or we can say the Islamic rule, the head of that particular ruler was given the title of caliph, or khalifa कहते हैं उसको. All of you, any doubt? Jitender, Yashwant, Sneha. Please respond me very quickly so that I can proceed. So you can simply understand one thing, that beyond Sindh and Multan, the provinces of India began to be captured by the Turkish invaders. Now comes the main important ruler on your screen, and he is Mahmud Ghazni. This is very important. His rule was from 971 to 1030 AD. Don't forget his time period. 971 to 1030. Just remember this particular time period. This was the time period of Mahmud Ghazni. In 1000 AD, Mahmud of Ghazni invaded India, and he was the first Turkish to invade India. I told you the Arabs were replaced by the Turkish, and the first Turkish invader who invaded India was Mahmud of Ghazni around 1000 AD. He returned to Ghazni with enormous wealth after defeating Jaipal, the ruler of Hindu Shahi dynasty. Fateh Dawud of Multan, Anand Pal of Nagarkot, the Chandelas, the rulers of Mathura, Kannauj and Gwalior. It means Ghazni was successful in defeating all the important rulers of that time around 1000 AD, and they defeated Jaipal. He was the ruler of Hindu Shahi dynasty. Fateh Dawud was from which one? Multan. Then we have Anand Pal of Nagarkot, the Chandelas, the rulers of Mathura, Kannauj and Gwalior. So the Chandel used to rule in the three regions, Mathura, Kannauj and Gwalior. So we can say Mathura, Kannauj and Gwalior were under the rule of Chandelas, or the Chandel Sasak, or Chandel rule was the Chandelas. So Mathura, Kannauj and Gwalior was under the rule of the Chandelas. Nagarkot, it was under the rule of Anand Pal. Multan was under the rule of Fateh Dawud, and the Hindu ruler and the Hindu Shahi dynasty was ruled by Jaipal. So all these rulers, we can say Jaipal of the Hindu Shahi dynasty, Fateh Dawud of Multan, Anand Pal of Nagarkot, and Chandelas who ruled the areas of Mathura, Kannauj and Gwalior, they all were defeated by Mahmud of Ghazni, who was the ruler of Ghazni. Ghazni is a place in Iran. Don't forget this. This Ghazni is basically a place in Iran. Don't forget this. And he used to rule from this particular area that is called the, it's a province of Iran. It's an area, as we have Delhi, Noida, that at that time in Iran it was Ghazni. So he was the king of that area, so he was called Mahmud of Ghazni. Remember, he invaded India in 1000 AD and he was successful in capturing enormous amount of wealth. And remember one thing, India, in India, the problem was that all the rulers were not united with each other, and because of this disunity, all the foreign invaders, whether it is Arab, whether it is Turk, or we can say whether it is Greek, Sak, Parthian, Kushan, whether it is Mughals, they all have been able, in fact, the British East India Company was able to establish themselves in India only because the Indian rulers were not united. And because of this disunity, they were successful in creating a divide among all of us, and they were successful in establishing themselves. And this was started with the Arab invasion, which was followed by the Turkish invasion. And the Turkish invasion was first carried by Mahmud of Ghazni, who attacked India in 1000 AD, and he defeated the king Jaipal, who was the ruler of Hindu Shahi dynasty. He defeated Fateh Daud of Multan, Anandpal of Nagarkot, and Chandelas ruler who used to rule in the regions of Mathura, Kannauj and Gwalior. Simply remember one thing, Mahmud's significant invasion in Hindustan was against the Somnath temple in 1025 AD. So if the question comes, in which year Somnath temple was invaded by Mahmud of Ghazni, you will say in the 1025 AD. This temple is located on the coast of Kathiawar, and Raja Bhimdev, the ruler of Kathiawar, and his followers escaped from the place. So they can simply ask you when in 1025 AD Somnath temple was attacked by Mahmud of Ghazni, who was the ruler of Kathiawar province, you will say Raja Bhim. Don't forget his name. In 1025 AD, when Mahmud of Ghazni invaded the Somnath temple, that is on the coastal areas of the Kathiawar region of Gujarat, it was under the rule of Raja Bhim. So because of this invasion, Raja Bhim and its follower escaped from the Kathiawar region. Guys, any problem? Is it properly audible and visible to all of you? Are you learning the process? This is all thing. I am repeating the things time and again so that it can get memorized. You should be able to memorize it very efficiently. So it's for the Somnath is in Gujarat only. It has not shifted. Sneha Maurya, what to repeat? Sai Srivastava, I am orating the things time and again. I have orated the things more than thrice, and still you are telling me to go slow. I will go slow, I don't have the problem, but I think my speed is okay. This is history. If I will start orating slowly, all of you will fall asleep. Sab so jaoge. That is why I am orating it fast. There is nothing like that. Shall I slow down my speed? All of you please tell me. Accordingly, I will go with. Please catch my speed, because if I will go with the slow speed, then you all will sleep. That I am sure of, because we are going into the historical part. So please try to concentrate on my. Ghazni was a Turk. He was of Turkish origin. So I told you that from 971 AD to 1030 AD, this was the. Sayyid, the same thing I am telling you. Have you joined late? Have you joined the session late, Sayyid? Have you joined the session late? Please be on time. So I am just repeating one thing, that Mahmud Ghazni was the Ghazni province of Iran, and he invaded India in 1000 AD. And when he started invading India, he first of all defeated the Hindu Shahi ruler Jaipal. Then he defeated Fateh Daud of Multan, Anandpal of Nagarkot, and Chandelas ruler who used to dominate the areas of Mathura, Kannauj and Gwalior. And he was successful in invading the Somnath temple, which is in the coastal regions of Kathiawar. And at that time, the ruler of that Kathiawar province was Raja Bhim, who because of the invasion of the Mahmud Ghazni escaped from that area. Now you see, Mahmud Ghazni died in the year 1030 AD, and there were very famous personalities in the court of Mahmud Ghazni. This is very important. Firdausi, Al-Baruni and Urbi. Don't forget this important thing. Okay, na? Fau, F-A-U, Fau. This is called Firdaus or Firdausi. Not Firdaus, it is Firdausi. Then we have the next important writer, Al-Baruni, and third important writer is the which one, Urbi. So they can ask you which famous authors were in the court of Mahmud Ghazni, you will simply say the most important or the most famous rulers in the court of Mahmud Ghazni were Firdausi, Al-Bunini, as well as Urbi. Don't forget it. Firdausi, Al-Bunini, Urbi. Got it? Firdausi, Al-Bunini and Urbi. Now remember, after Mahmud Ghazni came Mahmud Ghori, and he was the ruler from 1149 to 1206 AD. 1149 to 1206. इससे पहले हमने क्या देखा था महमूद गजनी को, उसका टाइम पीरियड क्या था, तो यू विल से 971 to 1030, 971 to 1000 exactly. Firdausi was the court poet, Al-Burini was the scholar, and Utbi was the court historian. These were the, you can say simply, these were the designated people in the court of Mahmud Ghazni. Firdausi was a court poet, remember that, he was the court poet, Al-Burini was a scholar, and Urbi was the historian who used to write about the Mahmud Ghazni. And that is why these texts or literatures have been the most important source for studying our history. Unless until we didn't have these historical evidences, this historical text or literature, we could not have been able to know much about these rulers. So after Mahmud Ghazni, we are now focusing on the which one? Mahmud of Ghori. So in this particular section, you have to just simply understand one thing, कि just after the Ghazni, the second important Turkish ruler who invaded India in 1176 AD was Mahmud of Ghori, and he ruled this particular, and his entire lifespan was from 1149 to 1206. First of all, when he attacked India, he first of all seized the fort of Bathinda in 1189 AD and then progressed into the kingdom of Prithviraj Chauhan. You see, in India, Mahmud of Ghori or Mahmud Ghori is known for one very famous battle that was fought in 1191 and 1192, that is called the Battle of Tarain. This Mahmud of Ghori was defeated by Prithviraj Chauhan in the first Battle of Tarain in 1191 AD and recovered Bathinda. So the Bathinda, which was seized by Mahmud Ghori after his attack in India, was recaptured by Prithviraj Chauhan by defeating Muhammad of Ghori in the Battle of Tarain in 1191 AD. And in the second Battle of Tarain, that is 1192, Mahmud Ghori was successful in defeating Prithviraj Chauhan. There is a very famous poem that is called Prithviraj Raso, which was written by Prithviraj Chauhan's court poet Chandra Bardari. So according to that reference, or according to that particular poem, it is believed that Mahmud Ghori was killed by Prithviraj Chauhan, and he didn't die of any of the, you can say, disease. But some historical sources says that Mahmud Ghori died because of the body ailments, or we can say the health ailments. Remember one thing, according to the historical facts, it is written that Prithviraj Chauhan was held as a prisoner and later put to death. But I told you, according to the Prithviraj Raso written by Chandra Bardari, it is told that it was Prithviraj Chauhan who killed the Mahmud of Ghori. But according to the historical fact, you can simply see here that Prithviraj was held as a prisoner and later put to death. The Turkish rule began for the first time in Indian history with the end of the second Battle of Tarain. So we can say the establishment of the Turkish rule in India started after the defeat of Prithviraj Chauhan in the second Battle of Tarain, in which Mahmud Ghori successfully defeated him. Now Qutbuddin Aibak, who was one of the slaves of Mahmud Ghori, was appointed as the commander of India. So before Mahmud Ghori left India after winning the Battle of Tarain, then he appointed one of his slaves, Qutbuddin Aibak, who will in future form the Delhi Sultanate or establish the Delhi Sultanate in 1206, but he will only be able to rule for 4 years. Now you see, now the Rajput uprisings. There were many Rajput mutinies between 1193 and 1198. And after the Battle of Tarain was completed and Mahmud Ghori established the Turkish rule in India, and entire rule was handed over to one of his slave, Qutbuddin Aibak. So between 1193 and 1198, many of the Rajput mutinies were held. Qutbuddin Aibak defeated them and brought many regions under his control. And all these Rajput uprisings, or we can say the Rajput revolts, which started against the Turkish rule between 1193 to 1198, all these uprisings and revolts were suppressed. All these things were suppressed by the Turkish ruler, or the one of the slave of Mahmud Ghori, that is called Qutbuddin Aibak. He was successful in just subsiding or subduing all these uprisings and revolts. And Mahmud Ghori made Delhi as the capital. in the Battle of Chandavar, that was in 1194 AD. Remember one thing, the Battle of Chandavar, which was fought in 1194 AD, Muhammad of Ghori defeated Jayachandra, the greatest Rajput ruler of Kannauj, and killed him in the battle. Remember one thing, that Muhammad of Ghori was successful in defeating Jayachandra, who was the greatest Rajput ruler of that time of the Kannauj region in 1194 AD, and that particular battle was called as the Battle of Chandavar. So remember one thing. So we can simply understand one thing, कि Mahmud Ghori made Delhi as the capital. First important thing, Mahmud Ghori appointed one of his slave Qutbuddin Aibak on the throne of Delhi before leaving the country and after establishing the Turkish rule in this country. So remember one thing, in this entire chapter we have concluded one thing, that in 712 AD, the first attack on India was done by the Arabs. That was named as which one? So you will say his name was which one? You will say it was Muhammad bin Qasim, and Muhammad bin Qasim was one of the, you can say, the son-in-law of which one? Al-Hajaji, and he was the governor of Iraq. After Muhammad bin Qasim, we have the attack of which one? Mahmud of Ghazni, and after Mahmud of Ghazni, we have the attack of Mahmud of Ghori, and one of the slave of Mahmud of Ghori was Qutbuddin Aibak, who was successful in simply suppressing all the Rajputana revolts. And finally in 1194, in the Battle of Chandavar, Mahmud of Ghori successfully defeated Jayachandra, who was the greatest Rajput ruler of Kannauj, and killed them in the entire battle. So in the next chapter, we will discuss about the Delhi Sultanate, in which we are going to understand and we are going to study about the which factors. We will say establishment of slave dynasty, Khalji dynasty, Tughlaq dynasty, Sayyid dynasty, as well as the which one? Lodhi's dynasty. So guys, we can simply summarize one thing, कि just after the political vacuum created after the decline of the Mauryan Empire, we have seen there were 5 important invasions from the Central Asian and the European regions by Greeks, Sak, Parthian, Kushan, and the Guptas. Thereafter, the first Muslim advent in India took place in 712 AD by the Muhammad bin Qasim. Then we have Mahmud Ghazni, then we have Mahmud Ghori. And remember one thing, before Mahmud Ghori will establish the Turkish rule in this country and will appoint Qutbuddin Aibak as one of his slave as the commander-in-chief, or we can say the protector of the Indian region. So when he will leave this country, and before that he has appointed Qutbuddin Aibak to establish the Delhi Sultanate. And Delhi Sultanate is also known as the first dynasty of Delhi Sultanate is known as the slave dynasty, because it was established by one of the slave of Mahmud Ghori, and his name was Qutbuddin Aibak. So guys, it was all for the Arab invasion and the Turkish invasion. In the next class, we will discuss about the establishment of the Delhi Sultanate.